Administrator Neal talked to you a little bit about the Ansari X Prize and about this vehicle, Spaceship One. And to me, this is the reason to believe that everything that I say and Andrew says and lots of other people you're going to hear from today and going on, that it's not just talk. That there is a reality to this. This vehicle actually flew. It is hanging in the Smithsonian. You can go and see it for yourself. But not only did it fly and again capture the attention of the world in a very inspiring way, it flew for about $27 million from a drawing on a napkin to hanging in the Smithsonian. Somewhere on the order of 100 to 150 person years of labor. Now, there are fields in which that is a lot of time and a lot of money. Aerospace is not one of them. Generally speaking, $25 million will get you a stack of paperwork about yay high. It does not get you a vehicle of any kind. Certainly I want one, not one that has human beings on board. But this one did. And it flew, as George mentioned, multiple times. In fact, it dramatically beat the Ansari X Prize requirement, which was 2 flights in 2 weeks. It did 2 flights in about 6 days. Which fundamentally changes the economics of space, because if you look at even the reusable space vehicles like this, the Space Shuttle, great vehicle, I would have given anything to fly on it, it was not cheap, right? That thing costs several $100 million every time you're going to fly it. People estimate actually now it's probably a little over $1 billion every time you're going to fly it. And that money didn't go, wasn't spent because rocket fuel is really expensive. Rocket fuel is cheap. It's kerosene, it's alcohol, it's liquid oxygen. It's not expensive things. It was because of labor, right? The most the Space Shuttle ever flew, I think, was 11 times in a 12-month period. There were tens of thousands of highly skilled, highly trained people who had to maintain that vehicle in tip-top shape and train Ed and train the crews to make sure that we were making the best use of it. It's never going to get cheaper. This vehicle, again, 100 or so person years to build, tens of person hours to touch up in between flights. You can start getting a lot closer to the Southwest model of making money and operating a inherently kind of impressive thing like a metal tube that flies through the sky or a composite tube that flies into space. If I go back to that last picture, the gentleman all the way to the right-hand side of the screen there, you may recognize as Sir Richard Branson, the founder of the Virgin Group, a pretty bold and ambitious guy. He'll try anything. I think he's never met a business plan he didn't like if it has potential. When I joined the Virgin Group about 2 years ago, I used to play a game trying to find a line of business that Richard has not tried, and it took me a really long time to win it because he's done a little bit of everything. But he was one of those kids who grew up watching Neil and Buzz hop around on the moon. And he just assumed, as I think a lot of people did in that time frame, that surely by the time he was an adult, he would have the Jetsons lifestyle and he'd get to go to space. He grew up to realize, oh wait, I'm not American. That's a little bit of a bummer if I want to be a NASA astronaut. He wasn't going to get to space by NASA. It wasn't NASA's job. He recognized if it was going to happen, he should go out and do it himself. So as George told you, he went and he licensed the technology of Spaceship One, and he said, let's scale it up. Let's bring it out to market and put our brand name on it as Virgin Galactic. So we hired the same team who had built the first vehicle to build a larger vehicle. Here you see, and this may be a little bit difficult to see in the back, but this is just a scale comparison between Spaceship One, the vehicle that is in the Smithsonian now, and Spaceship Two, the vehicle that we are test flying right now. Spaceship One was designed to be a 3-seater, although it only ever flew with 1 person. You could have fit 3 people on board as long as they were very well groomed and very good friends. Spaceship Two, by contrast, is much bigger. It's 2 pilots in the front, it's 6 passengers in the back, and it's plenty of room for you to take off your seatbelt, float around the cabin, go to one of a dozen windows, get the most out of your trip into suborbital space. That was a line drawing. This is a photograph. In fact, those of you with better vision than I may be able to make out the Golden Gate Bridge on the right-hand side of that photograph. This is from an event we did with one of our sister companies at SFO a little over a year ago. So the vehicles are constructed now. The basic flight profile, it's about an hour and a half from the time you take off to the time you land.